Welcome back, everyone, to another Up to the Time presentation. Today, we'll be looking at triangles and squares. So over to the right is my information on this topic, and I have 3 triangles and 3 squares. The first 2 methods are done. Let me just maximize this. The first 2 methods here are done on the same triangle. So this is the same triangle here. This is a copy over here, right? But the third is a different triangle. So let's focus on the first one and try to better understand this. So the first thing, what's the strategy? First thing, we create a triangle. And the information is given here. So it says A to B is 80. That's here to here, A to B 80. And then A to C is 75. Let's use another color for that. A to C, 75. A to C, 75. And then they say B to C is 45. B to C is 45. So we got that in. That's our triangle there. What's the next step? The next step is we need to create a square. So we are going to use the distance of AB, right? And the distance of AB is equal to the distance AD. And that means B to E is the same. And D to E is the same because in here is a square. So that's a square that's been created in this area, right? Starting using the AB distance to generate the square. Then the next step is we are going to pitch a line from D all the way up to C and do the same thing from E all the way up to C, the point C. Now, what do we observe when we do that? We observe that a line is created or a distance is created between on the same AB line, where the line D that goes up to C intersects the AB line. That's a point that's been created there. And also where the line E going to C intersects the AB line, there's another point created here. This distance is the distance we need to create our next square, which is the actual square that we need, which will be placed in here. So that is how we would go about this triangle and square problem. So the first thing is we'll draw the triangle. So I'll put that back over there. I'll bring this, let's start from here. I'll bring this into focus here so we can all see the instructions. And let's start. So the first thing is help a line. And I'm going to create my triangle. A to B is 80. And then distance of A to C is 75. So I'm going to open up a circle at A and create a radius of 75. Do the same thing at B and create a radius of 45. Where these interact or intersect, that is my point C here. So it connects. All right. Just bring this around so you can all see that. So that's my triangle ABC. In text, and I'm going to put some points here. That's point A, copy, that goes to B, and that goes up here. Let's see. Okay, let me just label them properly. ABC. Okay. Let me put the triangle into the outline there. And now let us find the square on the inside. Let me just move this up slightly. And now, what am I going to do? So how am I going to take this distance A to B? We're not going to measure it. We're going to open up and create another circle. So let me get rid of these because these are no longer needed. Let's now create a circle opening from A directly to B because we want that length, that distance. That's it. Then we project a line from A down to here. And that's the distance. And then we copy that line over at B. And then this is what we can do. We can connect that. So that then becomes the point DE down there. So I'm just going to bring this down here and call that D and call over here E. Now project a line from D all the way to C. And then do the same thing from E all the way to C. And then let's put a point here. Now, okay, we need to turn on our point system, DDP. And then I break my point cell. And then I'm going to put it at size 3. Okay. POI. And I put a point in there. Oops. You're on the spot. So now we can see that. So that's our new points, point F and G. So at point F and G, what we can do, create a circle there from F to G. And then that tells us basically we can go straight up to there. And you can copy this line over there and then just square off the top. And that, take out the circle, and that there is my square inside. So I'm going to put the square into the outline there. And that there is finished. I'm going to turn off my construction there. So I'm going to go on my hatcher there, turn off the construction there, and then hatch the finish problem. So that's it there. Let's turn back on the construction there and look at it. So let's just trim this because all we really needed was that quarter circle there so that we can understand, so we can get that information, the distance to AB, so we can then create a square at the base down here. So this square that we created of ABDE, this would be called the construction square. The finished square is right here. Let's give these some new letters, and that would be I, and this would be H, and this would be F, and this would be G. Right? Cool. So that's one problem finished. Now, let us take this triangle and copy it. So I'm going to take the triangle with the letters A, B, C, CO, copy, and just slide it along here. Put my ortho on this, and it's right here now. And now we move to the second triangle. So let's go to the second triangle and see what is required. So I'm going to maximize. Let's focus on the second triangle. So the second triangle is the same triangle, ABC, it's just copied out. But what we are going to do is we are going to choose a point somewhere between A and B. And we're not going to choose a point that's close to the half, somewhere that is less than half then. So somewhere in this area where I'm going to place a rectangle, right? Somewhere in here, we select a point at the baseline and we just send it up 90 degrees to the line AC. Okay, so let's clear that and let me show you what I mean. So somewhere in here, I came here and I chose a point and I sent it up here. So this point is perpendicular and it goes on to this line AC. So that's that point there. Construct the triangle, create a square on the inside of the triangle to touch the baseline AB and line AC. Call the first line DE. So this is here. DE is my first line which I've drawn. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this line DE to create a square. So in all of these, we always create a construction square. So similarly to the last one, I'm going to put the construction square in yellow. This was the construction square here, and it was outside the problem. Now this is the construction square, and it's inside the actual triangle. But that is not the final square. Those are just the construction squares that I have in yellow. So both these two problems, you need a construction square, and then from your construction square, you can project to find the real square, all right, which is patch on the inside. So let's get back here. So DE is the required side of my square, and then from here, I'm going to create the square. Okay, let me get back on the color you can see. All right, there and there. So once I've done that, the next thing now is I take a line from A and I project it through F. This is the point here that it must go through F and then hit this back line CB. And it must hit here at some point at a 90-degree perpendicular. But the main thing is we need to find point F, and wherever point F hits, then you just extend that till it finds this point here. And we then create a point called point F, or sorry, point H back here. So let's clear that and see what happens at point H. At point H now, we project a line down to the baseline AB. And the distance between H and I that they have here, the distance between H and I is your required distance for your square. So once you got the distance H and I, you can then find your square. So let's create that now. Let's go back to AutoCAD. And put that in the corner. And let's go over here. So I'm going to come here somewhere around here, and I just project a line up, right? Then I trim it, and I call that my DE line. I call down here D, and I call up there E. Right, that's my DE line. Now I'm going to create a circle, open up D to E. And why am I doing that? I'm using that to create a square. Wherever that circle opens, that's my distance there for my first square. And again, as I said, my first square, so I can trim this now. And I just leave that art in there to show the viewers that's how I created the square. So I got my square now, DE. And what are my other points? Let me transfer or copy, use over. My other points of this square are F and G. So this will turn to F. And this down here, this will turn to G. Yeah, F and G. Now, let's pull a line from A to F. And then we're going to extend that EX. EX. Extend the line. And yeah, extend it to the line BC. Now, once we get here, I'm going to put a point here. Yeah. And let's call that point H. Copy this over to there. So that's point H. And now what do we do at point H? We move from point H and we go down to the baseline. And that distance there, point here, distance between H and the coming down to the baseline is our required distance for our side. So that will be HI. This, I'm going to copy G over here and change it to I. All right. So HI is our distance for our square. C for circle, and open up the circle at I to H, and look at what happens. And then I can move this line, copy this line over to here, and then connect from there to the top. And that is our square. And I can remove this, and then I can put the real square now into the outline layer. And then I'm going to hatch that. Yep. So that's my second square done. Let me just transfer all of my construction lines to the construction layer. Okay. So that's two triangles done with squares in them. So the first one was to create the construction square outside, and the second one was creating the construction square inside. All right, so let's move over to this third one now. So let's look at the strategy here for this third one. So what you'll notice about this third one is it's a completely different triangle. That's the first thing that we notice. It's a different triangle. And let's draw the triangle. Let's look at the measurements. They say that A to B is 60. So A to B down here is 60. And A to C is also 60. But B to C is 65. So that's our triangle there. And what we're going to do first is we're going to come down from the apex of the triangle, which is C. C is called the apex. It's the highest point in the triangle. We're going to come from C all the way down to the baseline and create a perpendicular. And that is the first thing. C going down to D. Then, what are we going to do there at that? We're going to then open up a circle at C, going to D, and create an arc. Now, most people might not see this. So this is a radius here. All right. Probably should have drawn out a little thicker. But anyway, this is your open up. So this is the same distance here. Let me just pull this one here. All right, that's the same distance there. From C to D is the same distance as from C to E. So that's the radius open up to E. So what happens now at point E? Now at point E, you then draw a line from A going to E. All right? The line needs to go from A to E. And then at that point, that creates a magic point. Why I call this a magic point? Because it creates a point here at F. And then from that point, you can go straight down to the base at a perpendicular, and you will get the required distance needed for your square. That green line there, E to F, is required distance. And from there, you can copy that distance over here and create your square. So for this particular problem, you do not create a construction square. This is the only one that the square is created in the problem first, one time. So these are the first two problems. You had to create a construction square first, and then from the construction square, project and get the real square. For this particular one, you just create the real square from doing the construction on the outside and on the inside. All right, so let's get over to AutoCAD, and we're going to create this. Let me just put that here. We're back in AutoCAD now. So now we need to find a clean space on the sheet. Let's go here in this area. All right. And now let's draw the triangle. So to say A to B, let me go over into my construction there. A to B is 60. And C for circle, put it at A. A to C is also 60. So open up the circle 60. And then bring it to B and open up the circle. B to C 65. 65. So that is our triangle here. Right. A, B, C. So now I'm going to remove the construction circle. All right, so that's our triangle there, A, B, C. The first thing then, let me go over to no, let me just put this into the outline one time. No. C going down to D. That was the first thing. So that is point D. Let's call that out one time. C going down to point D. And then we open up a circle at C. We open up a circle at C and we open it to D. Yeah. Then from there, we need to draw a line from C going all the way to this point here. And this point here is now point E. Let's put a point here and call that point E. Let's transfer, copy the letter C over here, edit it, and call it E. Cool. Let's trim this thing. We don't need that. All right. So now what's the next thing? We need to draw a line from A going to E. Right. So now we have connected A to E, but it then crosses the line CB, and it creates an intersection. Put in a point here. And let's call that now F. We can call that point F. Now, at point F, all we need to do is go straight back down to the base. So from F, we go down to the base, and that gives us point G. That is our required side. G. All right, let's put a point there. Right. So this is our required side for our square. So I can do two things. I can open up a circle, G, open it to F, like that. And then I can copy this line and the points too. Yeah, copy the points and the line, the letters and the line. And I just move G and F over to this part there. And then move off. And then I will call these point I. So this is point I there, and this is point H. Right? I and H. So once we have located I and H, I can just connect I to F, and I can do the same H to G. And we actually have our square in here. So let me highlight the square by putting a profile line, profile thickness on the line. So I'm going to turn off the dimension there, which I've done by construction point, and I am going to hatch. Hit the hatch, and yeah, put a hatch in there. So that there is my square on the inside. And that brings us basically to the end of this demonstration. It was a short demonstration, and I just wanted to show my students how to create a square, in a triangle. And this can be done, let me organize this onto the screen better. This can be done with any triangle. So you can take this that you've learned, create your own triangle and try. And if it doesn't work with method 1 or 2, try method 3. You actually have 3 methods to help you. All right. So to recap, what did we do today? We focused on placing a square into a triangle. So I went through 3 different methods. The first method, we created a triangle, and from the triangle, we created a construction square on the outside, essentially, which is here in yellow. And then from the construction square, we were able then to create the real square, which is here in red. That was method 1. Method 2, we used the same triangle. We created the construction square on the inside of the triangle. And then from the construction square, we were able to create the real square also on the inside of the triangle. Right? So this one, that last one, isn't similar to the first 2 methods, but we had to still go through a sequence and arrive at the square on the inside. Practice these 3 methods because you never know which one you would use in order to determine or to create your square inside the triangle. All right, that is it here for me now. I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial. Practice, and as usual, like the channel and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting tutorials. Take care. I am out.